Boundaries often protect others from you. For example, a CEO I know, I had called them for something, and someone from the management team responded, "Oh, he didn't see it till he got the voicemail because he has his phone on mute. Like unless you're already a contact for him, it goes, it doesn't ring. His phone just goes to voicemail." And that's been a boon to my life. I have an Android and I just turned it on mute for all calls. And you can manually go in and like flip on individual people that they can actually call you, that their phone will ring. And it's been the greatest thing ever. I get calls at 6 a.m. from agencies and things like that that don't care. People don't respect your boundaries. And if you get me at 6 a.m. and I start work at 9 and I'm asleep, if you wake me up, you might get a nasty version of me because you just woke me up. Maybe I worked super late the night before and I've only gotten 4 hours of sleep or something ridiculous. And you just woke me up at 6 a.m. You might get a nasty gram from me right then and there. So it protects others from me, the worst version of me, or you're calling me late and I'm already in, even though I'm a night owl, I'm already in bed by chance because my sleep schedule's messed up. Now you pissed me off and you're going to get an earful. This has really changed my life better because now I don't go to sleep in fear because I have to leave my phone on because maybe I would oversleep or something could happen, like an emergency for my son or something. I need to have my phone on, but I don't want the risk of something going wrong where someone can contact me at an odd hour or upset me or they're blowing up my phone because I'm not picking up and it keeps ringing and you have to try to stop what you're doing to like turn them on silent. It's too much work to manually turn everyone on silent individually. Just flipping the phone to muted, but going and turning people on individually is a godsend. And I kind of find too, with like circular arguments with people, I kind of find boundaries are important. Like my parents never taught me and my brother boundaries. Literally, I think I was like late 20s the first time I even heard the word boundaries. And an HR director had said something to me like, "Oh, I sense you don't have strong boundaries." And it was insulting. And they say your enemies will tell you the truth. So I looked it up what she meant by that, like boundaries. I read a book on it, and it was like, oh yeah, it's like I'm kind of too people pleasy with things. I'm more worried about everybody else, and ever since then I've been slowly building those boundaries. But every so often I encounter a new situation I don't know how to deal with. I wasn't taught this as a child, so I've been like self-taught on boundaries. I'm like delayed um growth. It's like in terms of boundaries, I always feel like I'm like 5 to 10 years behind everyone else, if not more. So I'm like slowly catching up in this area of my life. And the new one that keeps cropping up is like circular arguments with people where someone says they don't like something you're doing. You say, okay, I'll do better next time. And then you mess up again. And then you're in this like feedback loop repeatedly because intellectually you want to do better, but you can't because it's like what they're asking you is like something core about you. It's something that's like a either a flaw or a way of being that's not easy to change, right? For me, for many years, it was like I would take jobs that would start early and I'm not a morning person. So it's like starting at 7 a.m., I'm gonna be late. I already know myself. There's gonna be after I'm past the 90 days, I'm gonna be late. I just know there's gonna not consistently, but enough to cause a problem. Maybe once every month, every 2 months, maybe I'm late a few days here and there, not excessively, but maybe 20 minutes late. And then it turns into a big thing. And I remember I started just in the interview process in their face when they want to hire me when we're talking offer. I'm like, hey guys, you know the job you want me to start at 7, I can't start at 7. Can we start at 8 or 9? and I wouldn't take the job because it's not fair to them or myself to kind of get into this negative feedback loop when I know there's going to be a future failure. There's no point to do that to yourself or them. You're creating unnecessary friction with people. If it's something they can't change or you can't change, like even others. The book I read talked about boundaries as being like not a wall, but it's like a wall with a gate in it, like a door. And you're not completely walled off from other people, but you open it upon certain conditions. And that always stuck with me. And I don't allow that door, I'm opening it less and less. Or these circular arguments, with people, it's usually because they want something and it's harming you. Because I find usually other people are with strong boundaries, they're not going to let you bully them into a position that you're harming them. They nip it in the bud, as they say. The moment someone disrespects them, they're already all over. I had a client once where she's like, the moment we met, she was already talking down to me about some email, and I know, at least on this level of boundaries, I'm good. I responded to her of like, hey, we have a 24-hour business response time, and I'll try to do better than that when I can, but that's our standard. So I just wanted to like inform you of that so we can make sure that we're on the same page. And she immediately backed off. We had a great relationship then because I nailed it from day one. I kind of find with people, it's really hard to draw a boundary when they've already been crossing it all day. You didn't have a gate, you didn't have a wall. It was just an open field, and they were just crossing whenever they felt like it. So when you erect that wall and you put a gate in, they're like shocked. And usually they just try to bully their way through because they're not expecting you to have any backbone. But it's, this, what I'm doing right now with you guys, this is what I enjoy. This gives my spirit a lift. It's like I feel like I'm a hawk on the thermal off of a cliff. I'm rise. This channel helps me rise. It's a enjoyable experience. It comes straight from my heart. Like even right now, I don't do a rehearsal. I don't um do heavy editing. I just do jump cuts. You get an authentic me, whether that's good or bad, whether I look bad, right? I don't care if I look bad in the video, if I admit to faults, this and that, that's fine. I just want I think that's my authenticity in these videos. That's why I think I even have any subscribers at all. I think people can sense that I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. I'm not some guru. I have no book to sell you. I notice a lot of these gurus online, even some guys I really, really enjoy on YouTube, they have like a book to sell or they do consultations. I will never ever do consultations. You do not pay me money. I just feel like the karma of that. It's like I get it. People, the most of those content creators are living in other countries like Ecuador or something like that. They're this is their source of income is being a YouTuber, so I kind of can get it. But I think it kind of, for me at least, with spirituality, it always it puts a damper on it once you get the worldly money involved. Um, I'm not a fan of it. I think it's like Ram Dass has a story about this where like he his book was priced very low. I think it was the Be Here Nile book, and his father was like, "You need to raise the price. Like you're never going to make a profit with that kind of price." And then Ram Dass is like, "Well, didn't you do some legal work for our Uncle Joe?" And his dad's a lawyer, and his dad's like, "Yeah, yeah, but that's Uncle Joe." So of course I did the work for free for him, and he was like, "But wasn't a lot of work?" Yeah, it was a big case, but it's different. This is different. That's Uncle Joe. Like I had to do that for free. Why? How could I possibly charge Uncle Joe? And Ram Dass is like, for me, everyone's Uncle Joe. So now that's why I can't raise the price of my book. And that's kind of how I feel with this channel. It's like everyone's my Uncle Joe. you know, I do have a book I've been writing off and on. Maybe it will never come into fruition. I would be the same. Like it doesn't, if you don't charge anything, people won't respect it. No one will buy it. I'm even like that when I see a Kindle book for $3. It's usually like, oh, it's probably trash. So I feel like I would charge like $10 or something just so people would respect it and buy it. But I'm not trying to make money off of this. My goal is just to be like a raft across the water, maybe like a stepping stone in a river, where instead of having to swim through the river, you could step on these stones to get across. I'm just providing a path, and you could throw me away after. Like Thich Nhat Hanh talks about that. You get a raft to go across the river, you don't strap it to your back after you cross the river and carry it forevermore. You use the raft to get across the river, it was a tool, then you throw it away. All teachings are like that. And for me, I don't feel like I can charge for anything because a lot of what I've been given has been free or low cost. And, people have been generous with me, even with PZI, where they would give me scholarships. I'm paying like 25%, Pacific Zen Institute, 25% to attend an event. And that really helped me, especially at my lowest points financially, where it was like really couldn't afford to give up the money for something like that. I need it for food. So I view the whole world as my Uncle Joe. And this channel is like self-perpetuating because of that, because I'm doing this for free. If it gets monetized, great. Um, I'm not expecting to get monetized. It might, get monetized, but it's not something where I'm going to offer a Patreon for this. I think, it'd be if someone wants to sponsor a video and they want to give me money to talk about something, that's a little different. If you want me to produce something, sure, I'll take some money. If you want me to produce a video, if you want me to, you're sponsoring a video, you want a specific topic, or you have a question you want answered and you want me to do a long form about it like this, sure, I'll take some change if you insist upon it. But more important for me is like spread the channel. Instead of $20, I'd rather you tell people about my channel, forward the link. I'd rather grow the channel actually than any money, to be honest. Like I'd rather have more exposure just so more people can get the content. Even as I remember when I was with my ex-wife, we were just boyfriend girlfriend at the time. I was like a personal assistant for a disabled man, so I had to like shower and brush his teeth. It's really stressful actually because he had kind of had a bad attitude. He was like a teacher as well, so he kind of had like an annoying, aggressive, looking down upon me attitude because I was like 20 something years old. And I remember on Wednesdays was like my final shift with him, and I like spent the night there. So because he gets started like 6 in the morning. I knew I could never make it, so he offers the workers a sleep over, which I did. So you're like trapped with him for like 3 days, And on Wednesday nights we'd always get in an argument, like there's just a fucking guarantee. Um, and I remember I finally said to her, like, you know what? Let's just not see each other Wednesday night because I'm realizing this is continuing. I saw the pattern. I saw it was me that was the problem. I need to protect her from me. And I was like, yeah, I'm in a bad mood Wednesday night. So let's just, and then we didn't have that argument anymore. Like, don't allow yourself to get put in a position where you're having to apologize for your actions. If you know yourself, I think the Art of War, Sun Tzu said something like, if you know your enemy, not yourself, you'll only win half the battles. You know neither, you'll lose 100%. If you know both yourself and the enemy, you'll win 100% of the time. That's kind of when I kind of feel like boundaries. I think a lot of times people only are 50% there. They're worried about other people abusing them. So they only set the boundary to protect themselves. But it's almost like you should have a double wall. You should have a secondary wall for yourself to protect others from you with a gate. You just have two gates. You just have one gate to protect the people coming in and protect people from you going out. If you're in a bad mood, you shouldn't be talking to someone, right? It's like simple stuff like that. But a lot of times we're trying to put on a brave face or this and that. It's kind of like too. I did a video on about same day agreements. I kind of find you might agree to something 2 weeks, months from now, even, and then the day comes and you're sick or you're like in the worst mood ever, but you've made plans. Or the common one is like you're promised to drive someone to the airport months from now, and then of course that day that you promise you're freaking sick, or like you're like having to work that day or something. Like it's like the worst thing. You wish you never agreed, but it's too late. You can't back out at the last second. So I kind of like don't like agreeing to stuff in the future to protect others, because you don't really know outside. I think in ADHD they say there's only two types of time, now and not now. I'm not diagnosed with ADHD, but I believe I probably have it. And I agree with that, where it's like I only work in the now and the not now. I don't I try not to think too far out because you could plan for 100 years, but you don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 seconds at the end of the day. You can make all these plans, you can get hit by a bus when you walk outside. So you really don't know what's going to happen from the moment to the moment. I think getting sick is something people don't think about. Like you think, there's this thing I read on a plane once. I remember I was looking over a lady's shoulder. She was reading an article. It's like manage your energy, not your time. That always stuck with me because we always think in times in the West, but energy, like just because it's 9 a.m. and you need to get to work doesn't mean you're going to have energy to do the work that day. Maybe the night before it's 8 p.m. at night that you have a lot of energy. That would have been the time to get the work done. That's why I prefer jobs too that allow some level of flexibility like that because yeah, you maybe I'm sick, maybe I didn't get enough sleep, maybe my back hurts because I was stuck in traffic for an hour and a half and now I'm pissed off, like I'm not in the best working mood and there's a big problem at work. So don't allow yourself to get put in these circular arguments. People just don't give you grace too. So if you act badly, especially in first impressions, I've made a lot of bad first impressions in my life because I didn't consider all this boundary stuff. And I remember even fairly recently, my ex-wife brought me to her church, which I actually really enjoy, kind of like a universalist church. And I remember when I first went, I have a clean slate. I don't know any of these congregational people. They have no idea who I am, and I have a tendency to talk too much and annoy people. So I'm old enough now to recognize that and counteract that. Um, and I find with people that know me, it's harder to deal with that because they're used to me talking too much. And so when I don't talk enough in their mind, they think something's wrong. Versus if people have never met me, if I don't talk like, oh, they just think that's a quiet guy. It's not like a negative thing. So I kind of went in really quiet and I was really proud of myself where we were at like a table and there's a kind of group of guys that were also there. And I just, I didn't say that much and I didn't embarrass myself like I usually do with new people. And I could, near the end, they were kind of talking to me, kind of appreciate. We had a guy that was a talkaholic that sat down that was kind of annoying. Luckily, he left. So I think they saw that I wasn't like that guy. And obviously, I'm a new parishioner, so I shouldn't be sitting there talking too much. But my ex-wife was like, so quiet. She was even like, oh, like, like I could kind of tell she was kind of thrown off by it. But it is part of my new personality where it's like, if you know you have a flaw, protect other people from you. If you know you talk too much or you talk too little and make people uncomfortable, go in, talk a little more. I kind of feel like you can really, you really can't take back a bad first impression. It's a lot of work. And so I kind of view boundaries like that too. It's like, don't, I think Marcus Aurelius says like he doesn't care what people think if they talk bad about him, but he doesn't want to do anything worthy of being talked bad about. Because that's fair, right? If you did something that's worthy of being talked bad about, then that's different. They're talking shit about you, but it's legitimate. Versus they're talking shit and you didn't do anything wrong, you don't care. And that's kind of my attitude. Like I found people, especially if you talk too much, like I do, um, they really hold it against you because you annoyed them and you can't take back the annoyance. And I have found the only way to take it back is that they meet you again and you don't over talk, but often they've already put you in that box and avoid you ever since that day. Right. And I kind of find myself doing that to people in corporate now. Like when I've been at corporate parties where a guy's like just autistically talking too much and like he meant well, but I just kind of got myself out of the conversation, got away from him because it's like and I see how people saw me where it's like they see that it wasn't malicious, but you're just annoying, but they don't want to tell you that, they don't want to upset you by telling you that you're a problem. And I remember I told a friend about the situation. She was like, well, why didn't you tell him he was doing that? And I was honest with her. I'm like, people never told me and I see why. It's like if I was to go up to him and tell him that, it's going to be negative. It's going to upset him. He might not even believe I'm right. And we're also in a corporate environment. And that's what I told him. Like, I really can't give him that feedback because it could be an HR issue. Now I was like mean to some guy for there was no real reason to say it. Right. And that's what hurt me a lot of the years with the talking too much stuff. Like, no one, people would tell me, but it would be at the point where they're already pissed off. And it would usually be people that don't like me anyway. So it was kind of like first I didn't believe it because I was like, oh, you don't like me anyway. And then people that, in separate situations that hardly knew me would say something. And then I start piecing it together, like, oh no, it is me. Right. But then I can't win because I kind of find now it's like I talk too little. It's an overcorrection. It's like the pendulum swings too much the other way. I talk too little. I save my talking for this channel has been what I also have told myself. Like, hey, if you want to talk too much, or I say, and I also save it for when I train people. People really enjoy me training, um, because I show them step by step on video on a recorded video, and I verbalize not only what I'm doing but the thought process behind it, so that it's a true standard operating procedure. They can do the work without me. It's like they can go back to the recording, and people love clients, coworkers, everyone's loved my training. Even my company, they've had me do company wide trainings because the talking too much, it does have applications. It has application as a trainer, and I welcome questions. I tell people stop me anytime if you have a question because I want that on video. Like, don't feel shy. Any question you have, let's get it recorded. And even YouTube, I think it does well. I notice a lot of other content creators I can sense by just I think anyone on this on YouTube generally talks too much. Speak anyone that's doing kind of philosophy content like me, where you're not with at least a second person bouncing off each other. It's a soliloquy, it's a monologue. It takes an over talker to do it. So for me, this channel has become like a little mini vacuum where it's a space where I can speak into the void and no one can be upset that I talk too much because you can click off. If you don't like it, you can click off. I've not upset you. You you can click on and off anytime you want versus over talking in a conversation. You can't unring a bell. It's gone out. You've annoyed somebody. You've upset them. And even with now that I talk less in person, now that I'm kind of the other way, like I'll zone out in conversations. I remember I was recently on a trip with a couple friends in Vegas, and like a couple times my friend saw me zoning out. We were like smoking cigars or something. I was getting a second cigar and I was like punching and I was doing stuff with it and I wasn't listening to him because there was another friend there. So I'm like, oh, I don't have to like listen everywhere. Let me get my second cigar set up. And he kind of called me out like, oh, you're not even listening. I'm like, dude, I'm like getting a cigar set up. But he has that over talking element too, telling long stories, soliloquies that are boring. And I now zone out. I see how other people view me. They zone out. I had a guy say that at the poker table once at a home game, said something like, oh, I stopped listening a while ago. Right. And that always stuck with me. Like, oh, it's like people are too nice to tell you to shut up. So they just stop listening instead. And I think Native American culture, they kind of have that attitude too, where it's like you don't interrupt someone, but you just stop listening. You let them talk so much that you're not responding. They kind of realize they're doing it. Right. So and my friend later in the trip too, he was talking about some boring stuff. I just started like I was looking over his shoulder, people watching, and he like kind of waved his hand. And it's like in the past, I would never zone out in conversations with people. I think because I was so much more engaged because I'm an over talker. I was over talking so much, I was engaged. And now it's like I kind of disengage a lot faster because I have less to say and I'm less interested in worldly things. And it's like I do every once in a while, someone will get me going and I'm like, oh shit, I over talked, but much more rare now. And I kind of have an attitude too towards people, um, where I expect them to get annoyed with me. I expect them not to really hear what I want to say. So I kind of, unless they're driving the conversation. I kind of have a rule like I only speak unless spoken to nowadays. I don't start conversation with random people. And even if someone starts a conversation with me, I only speak if spoken to. If I'll let there be awkward long silences because it's like I'm not, I used to be the type to fill the void. It's like the people pleasing. I'm trying to carry the conversation. It does sometimes well with dating to prevent awkwardness, but I think that's why I'm struggling with dating a little more now, where it's like I'm not going to be the court jester. I'm not going to be the conversationalist. A lot of women have told me that on dates. Like, oh, you're a great conversationalist. But the problem with that is it's like, it's a skill, it's a blessing and a curse. It's like I'm half Irish gift of gab. It can be entertaining to people that are on the quieter end of the spectrum because they don't talk that much. So they want to use you as the kind of the entertainment. I've had friends and girlfriends say that, like, oh, it's nice to be around you. I don't have to like carry the conversation. They can pipe in when they're interested, but I don't have that need anymore. It's also a boundary in a way. It's like I it's it takes too much strength for me to have conversations with people, especially about worldly topics. Like I want to talk about this sort of stuff on this channel. This is what excites me now. Talking about like worldly stuff is really boring to me. And that's why I love my son too, where he's autistic and like when he's like mostly nonverbal, he can speak, but just kind of more his needs. But even as a young child, when he was pre-diagnosed, I kind of knew something was up. But like, I've always loved spending time with him because we can just look at each other like telepathy, and we know what each other's thinking. I know he's hungry. I know he wants this, or I know he wants to do that, or he wants a hug, or he wants to take a nap, or you know, we don't need words for each other, and it's like really calm with him around. Like, commonly we take a nap together because it's like most people are not good for my nervous system. I find that I get sleepy around people that have a nervous that calm my nervous system. I don't feel a threat from them. And I've had girlfriends or friends say that about me, and I've heard other friends say they have that effect on people when they have that kind of calm, nice personality where people can sense you would never hurt them. And that's the thing with me and my son, we have that connection, and it's like that's actually helped me not talk more. It's like, oh, there's all this love between the two of us and we don't even need to exchange a word. you know we we don't have to talk much to each other. The love is there. Often he'll just like look over to me and I'll like look at him and smile. He smiles or he'll wave at me. Like he'll just, or even he's playing in his room and he'll come out after 30 minutes and just kind of walk into the front room and like give me a smile. And I give him a smile and then he goes back to the room. And sometimes I'll want to give him a hug or something. I come up to the door because it's kind of partially open. And then he is like closed door. Like he knows I love him, but he wants some reassurance every so often, but he doesn't want me on top of him. He wants to play with his toys. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. And it's made me a lot quieter because I can see you don't need to express your love verbally a lot of times. It's like body language. I think they say like 70% of human communications like body language. And I've even found that in conversation for me too, is like often instead of a verbal response, a smile, a head nod, using kind of that communication. And I also don't like to give a uh-huh or something like that, or like yeah. I kind of find when I watch podcasts, I find Joe Rogan's good at that, where he doesn't put in those little, there's a name for those where you say like a uh-huh or yeah, like there's a name for that in the conversation, and he doesn't do that. It makes the conversation sound a lot better. And also I don't like giving people a yeah or that's right or something like that, because then sometimes I think, and sometimes it is true, they'll think that I'm trying to say something. So I'm like interrupting them. So they stop talking. And I'm like, oh no, I was just saying. So I see the wisdom of nonverbal communication. I've definitely gotten more into that as time. Like the head nod is more effective than to show you're engaged without having to say a word. I find as effective. Let the person talk. And this channel obviously has been great for me where it's a place to dump my ideas to in a way as well, where I do plan to write a book maybe someday, and I've been trying to write it for years, and I just haven't had the time. It takes a lot to write, and it's easier to do these talks. And actually, I come up with some new ideas I wouldn't have come up with otherwise, just doing this stream of consciousness. And these can be cribbage notes for me to have a book sprout from this, because all the stuff I'm talking about could be in a book. I find people don't read as much anymore, and I'll be an unknown author. No one's gonna read the book anyway. I find like oddly, or especially Gen Zs now, that they don't read. This is probably the better way to reach people is through social media like this. And I do listen to my own content as well because I have ideas that I'll forget. I've forgotten a lot about spirituality. I've know so much about spirituality now, I forget stuff. So it also serves as like a memory for me to come back to. And the only problem with listening to my own content is I start editing. When I first started this channel, I could listen to my content a lot without wanting to edit it. And now I kind of find I can only listen to my content if I like there's like nothing to edit. There's not one section I should jump cut because that's the only editing I do. Like jump cut, just take out the fluff. And a lot of my videos I don't edit perfectly because it's it's people aren't making it this far. I doubt most of my listeners have made it this far. Most people make it like between 30 seconds to 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 6 minutes. So I kind of don't edit as heavily as the video goes on. Um, and when I'm listening to my own content, then I start wanting to edit it. But it's kind of a fool's errand because I'm not getting paid for this and no one's listening this far. I'm only at that point editing it so I can listen to it myself. And I could always go back and do more of that as time goes on. So it's bottom line though, with back to the boundaries is as I've gotten older, I'm 40 now. The boundaries for so many years were the other way. I'm protecting myself from others. Now that I know myself, the Sun Tzu art of war, I know myself and I know the enemy. Now I'm like, oh, how do I make other people not like me, but not cause like karmic problems from other people? I remember once I was in a poker game in I think it was Antioch, and I was I was just joking around. I wasn't, there are a lot of people kind of josh each other a little and like just joke around, but like I said something like I think so I the dealer gave me too many chips and I said something, oh, like, I don't want the karma, like take those aren't mine. And someone else was like, well, you're talking a lot of shit, so there's karma there. And like that is true. It's kind of like my actions are good, but my mouth got me in trouble a lot of my life. I can have that quick reptile brain where I just kind of speak without thinking, especially when angry. I kind of find that's my trigger. If I'm angry, I'm gonna be right, but I'm gonna say it in the wrong tone or too aggressively or talk too much. I've gotten better at that, but it's still a work in progress. And that's my boundary now. I'm starting to do the thing where it's like when someone upsets me, you just get away from them and then respond later if I have a problem versus in the unless it absolutely has to be said in the moment. I think Craig Ferguson, the late night uh, talk show host, he had does it need Craig Ferguson said, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said by me now? And that's stuck with me. It's funny it came up. This is a stream of consciousness. That's deep in my psyche. That's been something super important to me where it's like often there's not a lot to say because does it need to get said? Often it doesn't. Doesn't need to get said by me. Someone else could say it. And does it need to get said by me now? That's the one I struggle with because often I think my ADHD element, I feel like I need to say it now before I forget. So it's that's why I do these videos. That moment right there is just something that I forgot about. And I have it in my notes somewhere that I'm going to go through. I have a long list of notes for my book that I've been doing for the last 6 or so years. and it's in there somewhere, but it's nice when stuff pops up because that's kind of why I do this channel. It's what naturally boils up to the surface. It's important. Whatever I'm talking about on these streams of consciousness that is from the past, something like that that bubbles up, it means it's buried deep in my psyche. It's important. It's in the subconscious, in the Jungian shadow. It's there. And I feel like the talking less, oddly, people like me more, but at least they don't dislike me. That's kind of the Marcus Aurelius thing. It's like don't give people a reason to be able to talk crap about you. It's like for me, often it's my actions are pretty good. I don't really give people a reason to hate me from my actions, but the words, I'm a little looser with the words, and I can get myself in trouble. um I've I've gotten better of like not putting things out there that could be insulting, like actively pissing people off, but just talking more than is necessary. Took me many years to realize. Even my ex-wife has taught me a lot of lessons about that, as well as my one of the bosses at my job. He's like a VP, and I have the tendency to kind of talk. I type 80 words a minute, so I have the tendency to talk too much in a digital format, even more so, just because I can type quickly and I can reread what I said as well. And so it serves as a way to remember what I was going to say next in a way. Like I can reread, oh, I meant to say that. So I have the tendency to overdo it. And my boss, my VP would say stuff like, happy to discuss on a call. Right. And my ex-wife said that to me recently when we were arguing. And she said something like, let's do this on a call. Like, we're spending too much time text messaging back in on my side. Like I'm bad at that, where I'll over talk via messaging, but I've gotten much better over the years, at least. um I think in years past, when someone would say something like that, especially in my personal life, like with my ex-wife, I instead of respecting that boundary of like we're done talking about this via text message, I'm not typing all that. I would push, be like, no, we're talking about it. At least now I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And also too, it's like if I don't think it's worth a phone call like it was with my ex-wife, like yeah, no point to talk. I've gotten better at setting those boundaries as well. Like no point to talk. Um, if it's not going to be a productive conversation. I kind of find a lot of times, just like with boundaries, you get into circular arguments with people, and because they're not willing to compromise, you can't compromise, and so then it just turns into you're going to waste all this time talking and nothing will come of it. And I think that's what's changed for me over the years, like that poker player in Antioch saying, I'm kind of creating unnecessary karma by upsetting people with idle talk. And so now I kind of try to I only say something if it's important, like the Craig Ferguson thing. If it really must be said by me now, like it's got to hit those three things. Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said by me now? Like if it doesn't hit those three, I don't speak. It's made things a lot more awkward for sure. But even that VP, we've there's been a problem at work this week, and I've talked very little about it to him, and he was even double IMing me about it because he could see that there's a little bit of a different me. I'm not like Mr. Talk so much about it. I'm like, if there's nothing to say, I'm not going to say anything, right? And it's like I'm going to wait. I think there's an old saying too that's cropping up in my memory where they say with executives, you don't give them the whole ball of yarn. What that means, if you have a ball of yarn in your hand, you don't unravel the whole thing and hand them all the string. What you do is you hold the ball of yarn and you pull a little string and you put it in the executive's hand. So you tell them something and they'll ask questions and then they can keep pulling. You don't just info dump on the executives. Often I find like lower level employees will do that to higher ups. You just tell this long rambling story via email, and it's so long it doesn't, like, no one wants to read it. And I remember I learned that lesson years ago, at least in corporate. And I remember maybe a few years back, she sent me something, our CEO, and I responded with like a 3 or 4 liner. And she's like, oh, can you provide more detail? And I was really proud of myself because I kind of gotten to that point now where my communication's efficient, at least at work, where it's like, I'm not going to info dump on you. Here's my quick answer. And if you want more, ask, right? But I didn't say that. I just gave the quick answer. And even other executives at the company now. I recently did an implementation, and then he was giving me lots of compliments, and I in the past with him, I would get accused, and same with the CEO, I'd be accused of over communication, inefficient communications. The over communication means you're talking too much. Inefficient communications means you could have said that all together instead of multiple emails. And I'm not getting accused of that anymore. I think partially because I don't care about the worldly stuff. Um, but also I think because now I'm like in a space where talking for me isn't enjoyable. I think they say like if you're lonely or something, you'll talk too much because you're finally getting to speak. I've no, my last girlfriend was like that. It was like she didn't even have to tell me she had a lonely, solitary life. Like she talked too much. And like for me to say someone talks too much, like me and my brother joke because we're kind of on the nerdy end. We're the king of the nerds. We're on the nerdy end of the spectrum, almost normal. So if we think someone's nerdy or weird, they're like super weird. So if I think you talk too much, you talk like extremely excessively too much. And I already knew from the way she talked she was lonely. And then it did come out like, oh yeah, like she doesn't have that many friends, and like she has a neurodivergent child like me, so like she spends a lot of time alone. And and I saw that in myself. Like it was kind of good to have that relationship because I got to see like, oh, this is how I come off to other people. Even my brother will say something, say, oh yeah, I just kind of let you rant, you know, especially if I get passionate about something like work, like I'm pissed off about something. So I kind of find like no one really wants to hear your problems, even when they do. They want the short version. They want the crib notes. And I don't have to do that here, which is nice. Like this video is about boundaries, but I'm kind of going on tangents, but they're good tangents. And I don't even bother to mention them that much in the title because people aren't going to make it this far, which is fine. It's these are more for me. They say the best art. I think there was like a what the producer that does all the rap and all the rock. Like he's some like scraggly white guy that's like he's like 70 years old, but he's like the best producer. And he was saying about art that it's like the best art is when you just do it for yourself. It's not even, I think Marcus Aurelius, the Meditations was like his personal journal. It was never meant to be a book. It's like that's how it is when you're doing the art for yourself and some you're not doing it for the audience. I'm not doing it for subs. I'm not doing it for monetization. I'm not doing it to sell you guys a book or a course. That always really still upsets me. Like there's a guy I've been following lately. I'll probably do a video on him. And he's great, but he sells all these courses. Like pretty much they all do. It's kind of like shocking to me. There's always like, oh, there's some like mastery course or, spiritual course or retreats. I think even today, PZI reached out to me about like, hey, like we have a retreat, and I look up the price, and it was like $1,000. You're gonna be on like some dinky little room, and it's just like a twin bed and like no tea. Like you're doing spiritual stuff, but it's like $1,000. And I said something to them like, well, is there a way to do it off site so I don't have, like, is there a price? And like, oh, not really. And that's kind of my thing with the spiritual stuff. There's always kind of like a weird cost to things. It's like I get it. They're putting on an event. They have to cover the cost. They have to make something to keep the temple going. Like I always say, it's like I get it. You have to keep the lights on. It's good we have these organizations. But it was funny because why they found me is I've been paying for years. I think since like 2021, probably I've been paying my dues, maybe 2022. And it's like $15 a month, so not that much. But I haven't attended events in probably 4 years. Like I've been paying, not attending, and they can see that, right? Because it's like a kind of a work from home spirituality where it's mostly Zoom sort of thing, so they can see who's attending. And you register too online, so they can see who registers. So I'm an anomaly. I've been paying them for 4 years, but I haven't attended a single event, not even the free events. And so she reached out like, "Oh, we see you moved and like we haven't heard from you in a long time." So it's kind of funny with the spiritual guilt where it's like, yeah, like I'm supporting them and I'm also like, they know I think they kind of know what's up probably. Like, oh, like I'm sure I'm not the only ones. Like I'm supporting them because they gave PZI gave me so much in years past. I'll support them till I die. Like I'll give them the $15 a month. I have respect for these organizations. Um, but it's kind of like the tithing. I think within reason to help support, and I don't mind paying the $15. I get all the emails. Even her emailing me because I'm paying. I didn't know that event was coming up. I even told her there's a small chance I could go. I didn't say why. Maybe I'll lose my job by then. I think it's like end of the month. Maybe I would blow the money in a way because it's going to like a quote unquote good cause. But for me, I kind of balk when I see hundreds or thousands of dollars for spiritual events. It's like I think Warren Buffett said something. You have to like how he looks at money. How many cheeseburgers could I get for that? It's like how many meals could I eat for that amount of money? And like I pay child support. I have I live in California. It's expensive here. So for me to like shell out that kind of money for something that's really not absolutely necessary, it's a luxury to do those kind of events. It kind of feels like usury a little bit. It's especially with the older people in congregations, I kind of feel like they can get taken advantage of. And there was a point in my spirituality where I was like willing. I actually remember this now. I was willing to, I think they had like a $2,000 event I wanted to go to, but I don't have a COVID shot, and they wouldn't allow me to come at that time because I didn't have the shot. So they actually saved me like 2 grand because I was so into PZI in that moment. I was willing willing to spend 2 grand. That just brought up another memory. I remember I did attend one event, and I remember they wanted my opinion on something. And since I have a tendency to overtalk, and especially about like an interest, a special interest, ADHD, autism style, I remember the leader asked me, "Oh, dude, what do you think about this patch?" Because they're kind of going around the group. And I said, "Oh, honestly, I don't want to share an opinion because I have the tendency to like overshare and overtalk. So it's better for everyone that I don't share." And then it was actually an interesting moment. I'm probably the first person that's ever said that out loud, right? But I kind of feel like just like on the channel, I like to be authentic in the spiritual space. And he actually was very interested. Just to go, well, I actually have that tendency too. So like, how do you prevent? I think he actually asked me a question. How do you prevent yourself from like mansplaining and that sort of thing? And I was just like I told him, like, yeah, just kind of like what I did now, where it's like I kind of know I have that tendency, and I try to like just not even start, because if I start, it's like the alcoholic thing. One drink is too many, and a thousand is never enough. If I get going, the avalanche will come. It's better just like not to give it a chance to get started, just like I just did right there. It's like don't even give myself the chance to get going. And it was an interesting moment, and it's like my boundaries now. That's my main thing. If I'm upsetting people in this world, it's kind of what happened with my brother today, where I have a little bit of a blow up when I haven't done the thinking first. I'm not good at like saying I need to get off the phone, or let's like in the moment I get triggered, and I'm not good at like a lot of other people I notice. They even my brother will do it if he's annoyed at me. I figured it out over the years where it's like he'll on a phone call, he won't tell me he's annoyed. He'll just find a pause in the conversation, say he has to go. He's admitted it later where it's like, oh yeah, I just kind of like get off the phone if I piss them off, but he's not telling me directly. I'm kind of the opposite. I'm too direct, where I'll be like, well, that's upsetting me. Like, blah, blah, I have the opposite problem, but I see the wisdom in his style. It's like you're not going to accomplish anything if it's going south, so you might as well just leave. I need to get better at that. And I've gotten better at that at work now. Um, Especially even that VP, I had scheduled a meeting before I went on vacation when I came back the week I came back to talk about someone I'm training. And then I kind of thought about actually I don't have anything important to say. And if he thinks it's important to me, he can reschedule. So I canceled it on the Sunday night before the week started. And he hasn't rescheduled it. And that's the thing too. I kind of have the attitude now with talking, um, that I'm gonna have that tendency to talk, but other people usually my whole life, even I still remember this, like I think I was like first or second grade, and I was talking too much, and they like took me, they like made me, they moved the desk into the corner so I couldn't disturb the other students. And that was the first, it was very interesting as a second grader. I still remember this very vividly. I still remember that it was like the first time I realized I couldn't be myself, I guess, in a way. It was like, I realized, like, oh, like my talking has caused so much problems that the teacher has like socially embarrassed me, right? Because it's not just that I was talking too much, it's that I'm publicly shamed now by being my desk being moved. And obviously it solved the problem because it was actually a smart play on her part. So it was like to give me, to show me that like I was a problem and in kind of the nicest way possible versus saying I talk too much is showing me. And I remember that kind of quieted me down a lot, but it didn't work completely because it just showed me like, oh, I'm just second grade kid. I didn't think that I was like, oh, it's just inappropriate that I'm talking this much in this setting. Like, oh, like this is school, like she's trying to teach. Like I was smart enough at 2 years old to realize, or second grade to realize, oh, I'm interrupting her lecture, right? Like I'm talking too much. It's hurting. It's not about me in a personal life. It's me in this situation. And I remember it was, many years later, I think seventh grade, because I at least knew that there was a guy next to me. He must have been on the spectrum. He just kept talking to me, and like I wasn't even speaking. And I remember the teacher said he kept telling me to not talk. And my mom and him had arguments about other things, so he's singling me out. And I remember I blew up on him. Even at seventh grade, I'd had enough because like I learned that lesson in second grade. I knew not to talk too much. So I just said to the teacher, I was like, hey, like his name was Kyle, the kid talking. Like, Kyle's like talking to me so much. Like, I haven't said a word. Either move me or move him, and the problem will be solved. Like, I'm not talking. It's him talking to me. So if you want to resolve this, move one of us. And like the class got all quiet because he was like a tough teacher. Everyone was scared of him. But like I've been, I've actually been following the rules all these years. So it was like what I didn't know was that he came from a rich family, so that we're in like a Catholic school, private school, so he was untouchable. So I didn't know that. I'm just saying this. I was so frustrated being singled out. They never moved him, and he continued to do it. But at least now the teacher never like got mad at me about it anymore because he at least it was confronted. But it was kind of like that moment coming up organically now because it was like I'm being accused and I'm not even doing anything. Like he's talking to me. Like I'm not even responding because I already know I talk too much. I don't even want to get in trouble about this. And it's so it was kind of like at least institutionally and even at my work right now, just like that VP and even my ex-wife beating me down with talking too much. I'm on the final phases in these like you know, corporate or school or, organized environments, talking too much. In my personal life's been the one where it's like harder, but I remember in high school, I was on the wrestling team and there's some older guys, I think they're juniors, I was like a freshman, and I was still talking too much in my personal life because this is wrestling, this isn't school. And I remember one of the guys said something like, "Do you ever let anyone else get a word in edgewise?" And it was super painful just because it was like I knew it was true. And he was a nice guy, really nice guy. So for him to say it, it's like a level of frustration that meant that he'd been putting up with it and he had enough. Um, that one really like cut deep. I must have been like 14 years old. And then again, I remember when my first job in corporate, it happened again where like the accountant, he was like a really kind of quiet guy and he said something to me like I don't know how like your girlfriend puts up with you, you talk so damn much kind of thing. And he was right on that. And even the COO said something because he was in the office like try talking, let's get your work done, right? And it was like that was the start of like the final countdown for me. And I remember my current job right now, I started this job in 2018, now I have the opposite problem. I remember me and another guy, we were known as being too quiet. Like his name was Larry. Like a manager would always walk by and like, oh, Sean and Larry, they're always so loud because me and him would have headphones on and we would do our work for 8 to 10 to 12 hours and like not even speak at our desk. Like I would speak in the lunchroom kind of thing, but like at that point, you know, at like 30 years old, I'd figured it freaking out about like talking too much in general, like especially in like an organized environment. Like finally it had clicked for me that like, hey, like there's really no value for me to talk. And the other guy kind of had a similar personality, I think. Like it's you kind of realize like nobody wants to hear you talk really in corporate. And you already have to talk so much about work stuff. And people want some friendly talk, little small talk. I was smart enough to know how to do that in the lunchroom. That's kind of why I ate my lunch in the lunchroom. I had a friend that would like eat in his car, and he was quiet all shift. Like I realized like there's a balance of look like a weirdo or you're like antisocial. There's kind of that like balance. I've never been good at that my whole life. It's kind of like I talk too little or talk too much. And I was even telling my brother I actually prefer to talk too little now, and people think I'm awkward or weird because like you can't be. I think they said something about like the no comment thing, like celebrities. It's like you can never be misquoted if you don't comment because if you say something, people can always misquote you. So I kind of find like you can't dislike me if I didn't say anything. You can say what you want. I think it's something like you can only be misinterpreted, not misquoted when you don't speak. So you can misinterpret my silence, but you can't misquote it. Like you can say I'm weird and quiet. And I think actually I look back on my life, I think the over talking started because naturally I was actually the other way, but people kept beating me up for being too quiet as a little kid. Like I had that phase when I was too quiet where like, you know, people would get weird because you don't say anything. And even lately too, I find myself where now I'm quiet to people are like, "Oh, you're still there on the phone?" Because I was just listening. I'm not planning my next thing to say, and people get weird um, about that. It's like, and then I find myself like starting to talk to try to like people please because like they're taking my silence as aggressive silence or something. So it's been a struggle my whole life. But honestly, this channel, even this video, I think I have another video. This one's probably going to be an hour or more. I have another video that's like an hour. A lot of good stuff in that video. I really hate. I'm definitely not going to edit this video immediately after. I need to get back to work anyways. But I remember my brother said like, no one's gonna listen to an hour video. And I said, I know that. This isn't channel isn't for that. I remember people said the same thing to Joe Rogan. He's a lot more interesting, obviously, but if people like you enough, they'll that's what I do with Rogan podcasts, a long form, 3 hour podcast. If it's really good, you keep coming back to it. You're listening while you eat, you listen to while you drive, if you break it up. And there's some videos of mine are 2 minutes, some are 4 minutes. Some are an hour, some are 20 minutes, some are 10 minutes. Some of my best work is in the hour format. Some of my best work is in like a 5 minute format, you know. And I learned that from my English language training. I had an English BA, and I remember a lot of my professors like, get it something down and then worry about editing later. And it is so true because it's like, and that's people have always complimented my writing when I was in my BA and MBA, people would always compliment my writing. Teachers, other students would compliment me. And I realized it's because, unlike my speech, you can't speak it all out and then edit later. But with writing, they're only getting the edited version because I can write a draft and then edit it down. They're not getting the bad version, just like you guys get an edited version. You're not getting, you're getting a jump cut version where I cut out a lot of this fluff or meanderings or misspeaking, and that's been my issue with speech my whole life. It's like I have a lot to say and there's a lot of gems in there, but I can't do it succinctly. And a lot of academia was like that. I remember even a lot of books I read, like some people have said about books I like that's a good book, but like it's hard reading. But there's gems in there. And I feel like a lot of academic writing can be like that. I think a lot of people struggle with that. And I agree. It's like there are gems, but you have to dig through so much dirt and garbage and filth to get to the gem. You give up on the book. And the same with YouTube, it's the same thing where it's like if you don't hook people in the first 30 seconds, they're not going to continue. And if you don't have just gem after gem after gem, and I don't think I have a great voice either. Some people, very few, some people really like my voice, some people don't. Um, in this top, I have a lot of videos that are gem after gem after gem. No one's watched them. I have other videos where it's more like fluffy video reaction, and people like that more, probably because I'm talking less. Um, but I do the content for me, and if someone can gain something from it, great. Like, because I've studied under some of the best spiritual teachers, and I've read, I've there was a point where I was reading a book a day for a few years. Like, I'm a voracious reader. I've read a lot of spiritual texts. I've read a lot of psychology. I have a wealth of information, and this is a good format for me to get it out and also to hear it again, and also maybe someone will learn something. Now, back to boundaries, I always feel better after saying the boundaries. I did one with my ex-wife recently, like, hey, you need to remove me from the child support so I can spend more time with my son, because it's kind of like a weird dynamic. I remember a guy I was working with, he went to court and he told the judge the same, like, how can I spend more time with my kids if I have to work 40 plus hours a week and I only have the weekends, and then I still pay child support to see them, but then I have to have enough, I have to have enough strength to deal with the week, and then I trying to pick them up, it's going to affect my job. It's kind of like a weird dynamic in the US. And I told my ex-wife, like, hey, you gotta, especially how I've been abused with these 24, 36 hour shifts. Like, I need to be able to get out of this job and do something easier and spend more time with my son. But I can't do both. I can't, in the middle of hell, have more time for him because he's autistic too. Have to really watch him. He could hurt himself or others. Like, he could burn the place down. I can't just be like half asleep watching. I've got to be on top of it. And I felt bad at first setting the boundary, and then now I feel great. Same with my brother. At first, when I told him, like, knowing that he doesn't want to do long form content on Sundays, because that, like, I don't know why it's a bad day for him for Sundays because he's off, but maybe it's kind of like me. That's the day he gets stuff errands done or something, but he doesn't really want to do it Sunday. And I think all this other time I felt really guilty to like ask him for that. I think I've asked him for it before, but he like really fought me on it. But I think this time he kind of saw what I was saying. Like, either we do it Sunday or not at all. I kind of feel like a lot of boundaries often end up being an ultimatum, um, when you don't even, you're trying to prevent that, but the other person isn't willing to compromise. Like, for example, if my brother wasn't willing to compromise, we just don't do the content, but he wants to do the content, so he will compromise. And with my ex-wife, it's kind of similar. Like, I think maybe eventually she'll come around, but right now she's looking at it that I think it's more she doesn't want to remove the child support because she doesn't trust I'll see him more. So it's kind of like a Mexican standoff. It's a game of chicken. She doesn't believe I'll see him more until I see him more, right? But I can't see him more. It's like the chicken and the egg thing. I can't see him more until the child support is removed, so I can not care about getting fired or from my job, or I can quit my. I need to have the ability to not have to be in a very high demanding consulting job. I just want like a normal 9 to 5 where I can like not give my whole self, you know, this, that it's kind of like the boundaries, the ultimatums kind of come naturally sometimes, because when the other person, sometimes I kind of feel like people press your boundaries because they see they're not that firm. They kind of test the boundaries, just like my brother and my ex. It's not a malicious thing. They just want the life the way they want it. Like, my brother wants the content done Saturday night, so then he can like kind of get the bulk of the work done Saturday night, and then Sunday morning, but it's kind of easier for him to do it, but it's hurting me. It's making me pissed off. It makes me not want to be there. I'm kind of in a crabby mood, you know, and it's like Sundays are kind of easier for me too because it's like I'm rested. I'm probably working that day, so the day is quote unquote shot in a way for me most of the time. I'm gonna have to work probably. So it's like it's not an enjoyable day anyways. I'm in a working mood. So it's a little like versus like me giving up my Saturday night to do content I don't care all that much about that I've wasted money on for a channel with 36 subs. It's kind of like me wasting my Saturday night on that pisses me off inherently, and then also being tired. But it's funny because like my brother's more reasonable than my ex-wife because it's like obviously it's smaller stakes, but also it's something he really wants. With my ex-wife, like I believe she does really want me to spend more time with them, but she also, I think, underneath it, she wants that money I'm giving her every month because I'm seeing him right now, even though I don't have to legally, but of course I want to see my son. So she's kind of getting the best of both worlds. So she has less incentive to change. Versus my brother, he's realizing like I'm like at first he was even saying something like, "Oh well, let's talk about this more like this weekend." He's like putting off the conversation. I'm like, yeah, we could, or like tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, we could talk tomorrow, but I'm getting better with my boundaries of like, yeah, we could talk tomorrow, but just letting you know, like my boundaries we're doing this Sundays just because like Saturday is not going to work for me. So like basically I'm learned that like I'm not going to waste time talking too much anymore. I state what I want and then I let it be silent. The other person can respond. I think often not just me but a lot of people you start it becomes a negotiation about your boundaries. It's kind of like at work when you ask for 2 weeks off. My brother was telling me this story too, where like the guy wanted 2 weeks off at his job, but he only had 1 week of a vacation. But he was like, I want the second week unpaid. And they got all butthurt. They're trying to like, can't you just take 1 week? It's going to really hurt our business, blah, blah. And he's like, no, that actually happened to me at a job as well. And like at that time, I couldn't take a full 5 days of payoff because they're such a small little crap company. They made me take like 5 Fridays off because they couldn't handle me being out for 5 days. And I agreed to it because I was like 20 something, like 22, too weak to stand on my boundary. I really deserved the week off, so it's kind of like, you have to stand your base with people. Even, even someone like my brother that like there's a lot of love there. We're best friends. It's like, it's not, and I think that's why he agreed. It's like, it's not, I'm not trying to be a jerk to say I don't want to do it Saturday. It's more, and I think that's why he agreed. I think he saw like, yeah, we're just going to keep arguing. What triggered it actually was that we're on the phone call and he said something. Well, just know that's going to, on Saturday night it's going to take 30 minutes, an hour for me to get ready, and like I was like, yeah, that's fine, we'll see. And then he was like, well, I'm just saying, like, last time you got all butthurt, and he started like kind of complaining and like reliving the situation. And I was like, I got annoyed because I'm like, well, why are you bringing up this again? We've already gone over this. Like, I already said I won't get like that. I was like, well, I'm just saying, like, so I kind of saw what he was saying, where it's like, he didn't trust me not to have that negative reaction. And then that kind of triggered me because it was like, I didn't want to have to hear it again, especially after, this is like 8 o'clock at night. It's like not necessarily the conversation I want to be hearing. And then, he's like, well, let's get off the phone then, this and that. And I'm like, okay. And it was kind of a good moment though, because that I've learned like anger is a messenger emotion. I watched a video and talks about that. Like anger shows there's something wrong. So I kind of thought like, why am I getting angry? I'm like, oh, I'm getting angry because he is right in a way that like, yes, the chances of me being a little jerk at 11 p.m. on a Saturday is high. I can actually get that. But then also I'm like, why am I angry? I'm angry because why are we fucking doing this at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night? It's like not like normal time to do content. I get it because the content we kind of do it off news events. It's like that's the time to do it. So it gets the most algorithmic push. So I see from like a business perspective, quote unquote, but like from a personal standpoint, it's like the most retarded thing ever. Like, why would I do this at 11 p.m. at night? It's like not normal. And that's what actually pushed me. The anger messenger pushed me to change things. I'm like, all right, like we're just not doing this. And I even wrote something to him like, yeah, there's a 0% chance of me being angry on a Sunday. Right. I even said I'm gonna be well rested. Like we can do it in the morning, we can do it whenever, but like I'll be well rested. because we're not doing it at freaking 11 p.m. at night. And he's like a night owl himself. I think he forgets that. I'm a night owl too, but he kind of has a crap job and he works part-time. I work 40 plus hours a week and crazy hours at that. Like I even said that on the call. It's like, yeah, for me, part of me going off is like I've had a rough week and this is more work in like the middle of the night. So same with my ex-wife. Part of the reason we got in an argument, we've actually been doing good for a year. Me and her both kind of on the same spiritual wavelength. We kind of, it's weird. We both were atheists and now we're both kind of spiritual star CD kind of types. And we were doing so well for a year, like kind of like getting reacquainted and like getting a good co-parenting relationship going. And the argument came up for us for boundaries where it was like, they have a newborn downstairs. I can hear him crying a little bit right now. And, I've had a newborn. I know how it is. It's like so hard to get the kid down. And our walls are paper thin here. And I was just texting her, like, hey, I can still see him on our usual schedule, but also additional time. Like, I'll have to see him at a park or your place, or like, I can't have him for additional time here because, I'm on the second floor and they're on the first floor. And noise really travels. He likes to jump around a lot and he gets up at like 6 a.m. jumping around. And, that's outside of our quiet hours. I think our quiet hours are like 10 p.m. to 9 a.m. or something like that. And so I don't really want to get like complaints or like start that war with people. And me and her have had those wars with someone upstairs stomping around, you know, and and I just mentioned to her, it wasn't, and she got kind of butthurt, like, no, you're too weak. You need to stop worrying about other people. And that kind of triggered me where it was like, I'd been kind of putting up with the child support stuff for the last like 5 years. And I just kind of brought it up. I'm like, hey, I can't lose the apartment because I'm under rent control. And if he gets me kicked out and I have child support, I'm going to basically be homeless and like it's going to be a tough spot. And so I kind of was like, I can't take a risk when it's like I told her, like, yeah, remove the child support and then I can take some more risks. I pay like $1,200 a month in child support. That's net. That's not even gross. So it's like it's a lot of money out of my account before I can even touch it. So it's like, you know, and they don't care if you lose your job. You have to pay for it for like 6 months before they update your child support. So you basically don't get unemployment if you get fired because they take it. So it's like you're like really in a tough spot. So it's and that's kind of started an argument between us two, because normally I'm not the type to like I just kind of suffer in silence with things. I think there's an old Aesop fable where it's like the bear like gets stung by a bee and then he gets all mad and like starts attacking the hive and then like the hive goes crazy and comes after me. It's like jump in a lake to escape them. And the Aesop fable ending, the moral of the story was like it's better to take a take a beating in private, like a small pain in private, small beating in private, than to like get the whole hive to attack you. And so I kind of been viewing child support. Is that like, hey, I'll take my lump to not piss off the hive with her of like getting her upset. Like, fine, have the money. Like, I'm not seeing him as much as I should. Fine. But then there's like, now you're asking me to like be homeless essentially, because I can't really afford, especially with the child support. Maybe with no child support, not such a big deal to pay more for rent, but losing, think about that, $1,200 a month. That's like a rent payment alone. I think my rent's like 2 grand. So my it's $800 off my rent. I'm paying like double rent with the child support. Right. And I made peace with that years ago. I kind of like spiritually made peace with that. Like, well, it's just money. It's a worldly thing. I'm here for a time. Like, who cares if I'm like getting screwed over? It's like it's better to kind of maintain the peace. But there's a point where it's like, okay, now you're like literally risking my house and home. Like it's like the boundary with the gate thing, like just like my brother. Now the ultimatum comes up where you have to take action now. Because it's like, yeah, if you want me to see him more, you gotta take the, then I can, if I'm pissing off the neighbors, at least I don't have a $1,200 debt hanging over me every month. Because that's the thing with child support too. they put arrears like 10% on. It's like the mob. So if you don't pay it, you end up owing more. So it's like a lot of men in California, especially, have to live out of their cars because you get put in such a bad spot that you can't even afford the rent. You can only afford the child support because the child support is like a rent payment. And so it's kind of crazy when you think about it. And she still hasn't responded about it yet. Like we haven't come to a resolution. Um, hope we do. She's a subscriber on the channel. I doubt she'll get this far into my videos. If she does, it's the truth. I'm sorry. You know, but that's the thing too. It's kind of like I could die tomorrow, so I don't really care all that much about the money, but I'm still human. I don't want to be out on the street living in a car. I don't value much, but I want a roof over my head, food to eat, shelter, water, safety, right? That's my main thing about being homeless. I don't want even even though I have firearms, I don't want it to be like I'm in a car and now like someone could like attack me while I'm sleeping, right? So it's kind of like I can't, kind of like the homeless thing gets you arrested, like it sends you down a bad path. So it's like I remember I read an article once and a woman was saying like no matter what you do, don't lose your place. Like it's like always pay your rent, never like lose your place because it's like you can always go to a soup kitchen, you can always go to like the pantries for the poor, you can get like free canned food, you can always get like SNAP kind of thing. Like you can always do something for money for food, but like if you lose your place, it's like a downward spiral, especially in America. It's like you can't come back from that. So she's kind of attacking like the base for me, you know. And obviously, since my rent is high, and so I'm paying $3,200 a month. That's before car. That's before food. That right. Think it's not. I can't have a crap minimum wage job and afford that. Right. So that's kind of my issue. I have to maintain that those payments. I have to have a high powered job. But if I don't have to have the $1,200 a month, now I can work less. I can work if I don't have to fund that $1,200. I can work that crappier job that doesn't pay that much, but I have more free time and I'm not having to work long hours. I clock out 8 hours only per day. It was kind of interesting too with my ex. We had like a year trial run. It was weird. It was like we reconnected. A lot of it was me being kind of like hurt from all the things that have happened. And also a lot of it was the child support that I had to really suffer through some wars with my job. Um, she kind of, I felt like rightly put me on child support initially when she really needed the money, but she makes a lot of money. It's been kind of just financial abuse for probably like the last 3 of the 5 years, last 4 of the 5 years. Um, and we were doing so good. That's kind of the painful part. It was like we were doing so good, and I want to do even more, but that's the thing. Like I told her, and I have another video. Like it's about my needs first. Like you can't put an oxygen mask on your kid first when you're in an airplane where like cabin pressure goes. You're trained to put the oxygen mask on yourself and then your child. 'Cause you're useless to everyone else around you if you don't take care of yourself. It's kind of like not taking a shower. It's like kind of not brushing your teeth. Like by not taking care of your own hygiene, you're gonna hurt yourself. You're gonna need all these fillings, all this stuff. Like if you like giving up your own stuff for other people, you end up being resentful and also you end up being useless. You could literally have health problems and like even a life and death situation like that. If you don't put on your oxygen mask, you both die. If you put on your oxygen mask, you'll live and very likely your child because they need your help. But if you don't help yourself first, what if you die midway trying to put the oxygen mask on the child? That's why it's your needs first, right? And so I kind of even just like my brother and my ex, though, it's been a week of boundaries for me. I have to I I have to stand my base because I can't allow the bad things to happen to me anymore. It's like I've gotten to that point now where it's like, and my ex-wife called me out because she knew the old me where I was weak and I put everyone before me, work, this, that. It's like now it's actually the opposite. I put myself before everybody because I've seen like what's happened at my job over the last years where it's like I suffered because they knew I couldn't quit, because they can kind of tell when they put you through abuse and you don't leave, they know you need the job. And they didn't start respecting me till I about 6 months ago. I just basically said, yeah, I do what I want or I quit. Your choice. And ever since then, that's when all the negotiations happened. Right. So it's kind of like the same with my brother, my ex. It's like you put they're backtracking once they see that you're serious about your boundaries. And I've always been serious about my boundaries for the last couple of years, but I don't really have a need to show people my new self until pushed. And I think that's people still think I'm the old me. That's the thing too with boundaries, is like what we talked about earlier. It's hard to erect boundaries when people are used to running all over you. Yeah, especially if they've like gotten away with a lot, because then they think it's personal. They don't realize it's all the way around, right? Like even my boss, when I was working under 40 without approval, she was getting so mad because she thought it was a personal attack. And then when the VP talked to me about it, I'm like, yeah, man, I've been burnt out for years. And I can quit right now if it's a problem. Like he saw what I was saying. Like I'm on the edge, so you're lucky you're getting the 30 hours a week essentially. I didn't say that, but he put two and two together. Like, oh, you're willing, because I said I'm willing to. I said I can give my notice right now, and he was like, oh, I think he said something like what are you gonna do, be like a day laborer or something, like, because he realized what I was saying, like I don't even have a job lined up. I've like had it, like I find jobs too when you quit with no job lined up or you even threaten it, it shows you hate them and the job so much. You're kind of like the villain, you're willing to grab them and jump off the cliff so you both die. It's kind of like a if things have gotten so bad, you don't care even about yourself anymore, about your own financial stability, right? And I was at that point, because it's like, and even right now, like I'm still recovering. I had really rough weeks. It's like I really should be working right now. I'm behind on my work, but I kind of just don't care about it to some degree because I'm so burnt out. Like I can even tell the VP is kind of picking up on that I'm like putting less of myself into it, because it's like I'm still human at the end of the day. Like I don't want to die. I don't care about death, but I don't want to die at my desk. Like I'm not putting that level of stress in anymore. Like my goal is just to not be homeless and have food on the table. Right. I don't really care about my job. I don't care about going out. I don't care about things, you know. I'm really getting to that point where it's like I live kind of like a monastic, like my friend said. I've been living like a monastic since like 2021 or so. Like COVID kind of pushed me in that direction because